What happened to PACA finance? That is a question that I get often lately. I get it from people from within my Crypto Alliance community, and I also get the question from people who remember me as being a part of the crypto and DeFi space in general. So let's examine what happened and let's try and really shed light on the situation and also see two different perspectives. Before we start, let me briefly tell you that I am very deeply connected to the decentralized finance space. I have gone through the ups and downs, and I am still going through DeFi as part of a lifestyle. And I have come to the conclusion that one of the best things to do to survive in this space is to diversify and also to have the biggest amount of the money that you manage in self custody, doing as much as you can manually. That gives you the highest degree of control and the highest degree of flexibility. As someone who is interested in crypto, and I'm sure if you're watching this video, you are too, one of the very powerful aspects of crypto investing and trading is that you can indeed make life-changing profits sometimes overnight. I am a prime example of this because I was able to turn uh, $30,000 into a few millions, but then those few millions dwindled to a few $100,000. I made a lot of money, I lost a lot of money. So I understand why there is this huge appeal to the crypto space. However, what most of us forget sometimes is that it is and stays a very risky field where we have to be grown-ups. We have to be responsible for the actions and decisions we make. And at the end of the day, this space that allows for so much freedom and that requires so much responsibility and accountability of the individual is at the same time also the reason why we can have these insane returns that we would never get in traditional finance. So you cannot embrace all the advantages and the pros of an ecosystem, of a technology, of a movement, and not also deal with the not so nice aspects, which in the case of crypto and DeFi is volatility, is danger, is risk. Behind every corner, there is a risk of failing, of losing money. But at the same time, behind every corner, there's also a chance to a life for that leads to, quite frankly, for me, financial freedom. I am enjoying a kind of freedom that I would never be able to enjoy in traditional finance. But I have to learn how to navigate this space. I have to be accountable and I have to take responsibility for the choices I make. I also have to stay up to date. I need to know where to go to get my information, and I need to know where is the fine balance between driving myself crazy and consuming too much and just living my life. Now, all of that said, let me explain to you in case you didn't know what PACA Finance is. PACA Finance is a group of very smart developers and individuals who understood that providing money, providing liquidity to crypto markets is at the end of the day one of the best ways to consistently and in a way where it's somewhat predictable make money in crypto. I won't go into the details of how providing liquidity works because it's truly an art. But in essence, it consists of taking a pool of money, making that available for a certain crypto market so that traders can buy and sell the cryptocurrencies and you can collect those fees. And what you have to do is you have to pick your range where you believe that your money brings the highest return. And if the range is too narrow, you might easily go out of range and you have to deal with impermanent loss. If the range is too wide, you stay within range, but you don't create the returns that you want to target. So it is a very intricate game of constantly monitoring the market and adjusting these ranges. Now, what PACA Finance decided to do is provide liquidity provisioning as a service to people who do not have the skill or the time to do all of that work. And they said, if you give us capital and you lock it up for a certain amount of time, we are willing to guarantee you a fixed daily rate. Understand, however, that behind the curtains, when you do liquidity provisioning, you never have a fixed rate. On some days you make a lot of money, and on some days you lose money. But what this group tried to do is create a fair average that works for everyone. So it is very, very complex and very intricate to do this consistently over a long time and to always be printing profits. Now, if you possibly remember, at some point, I forget now exactly when it was, but it was a few months back, there was a hack on a decentralized platform called Cetus. And Cetus was part of the SUI ecosystem. Cetus was a tool that the PACA team used to organize their liquidity provisions. Every liquidity provider on planet Earth, including myself and including you, has to pick and choose decentralized exchanges to provide their liquidity to. PACA did that by choosing Cetus for the SUI ecosystem, and it was a valid choice. It was the biggest DEX in the SUI ecosystem, and there was absolutely no reason to question that choice. What you need to know is that every platform you use and every DEX you use, heck, even every centralized exchange you use has platform risk, meaning any malicious hacker can say, I'm going to target this platform. And we live in a time, quite frankly, where no one, no government, no individual, no company is 100% sure to never be hacked. That just simply doesn't exist. There's always a certain risk to be hacked, and that is what we call platform risk. So the fact that the PACA team was using Cetus and Cetus had a hack was very unfortunate, but it was completely out of the PACA team's hands. This was something very bad that happened to them. And of course, it also happened indirectly to all of the customers who were using PACA as a platform. Now, I have to say, the SUI Foundation and the SUI ecosystem were very quick to react. Basically, within 2 to 3 weeks, if I remember, they brought everything back up to speed. There were gap loans that were provided by the SUI Foundation, and they brought the system back to a level where it was up and running so that everything could go back to operational status. But here's the big problem. During those 2 to 3 weeks, everything was frozen, and quite naturally, the SUI coin dropped in value and the Cetus coin dropped in value because that ecosystem was very much under attack and investors tried to save what they could. And that caused what we call in liquidity provisioning an impermanent loss. And the impermanent loss was something that the PACA team had to accept involuntarily. They didn't want to do that, but they had to. Now, during that time, PACA, of course, had lots of users who were hoping and begging every single day that they would open the platform again. And I was one of them. I was also invested in PACA at the time, and I relied on PACA for cash flow, just like everyone else. The PACA team decided at some point to reopen operations, and everybody saw a huge relief, again, including myself. And they ran for a few weeks, and then there came a second temporary pause that was independent from any hacks. But that secondary pause was a business decision that the PACA team felt was needed. And here is the reason why. In hindsight, they saw that they restarted activities a little bit too early, and that they were running their operation as a liquidity provider system at a deficit, meaning they were paying out monies that they didn't make. And that, my dear friends, is a very, very scary situation as a business owner. And I can say that as a business owner is not healthy. You don't want to do that. And again, I am doing manual liquidity positions for myself, and every day I move around a large amount of money, and every day is super stressful because every day you have the chance at making money or losing money. And if for an entire week you're losing money and the money is not yours, it is someone else's, then you get very, very nervous. Now, a sound business has reserves, and PACA did have reserves. At least they stated that they had reserves, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, I believe they had reserves. But those reserves were all eaten away by that involuntary impermanent loss that they had to endure during the CEDAS hack. So they said, okay, we need to temporarily halt this. And at the time of the recording of this video, the service is still paused because we need to rethink our service for survival. We need to adjust everything. And I believe, and this is where right now we are at, nothing is quite sure yet how they will continue, but it looks like, from what I can tell, that they are going to reopen the system in a fashion where it returns a variable rate that is tied to market activities and not to an average. And I feel personally that is a lot more realistic because the market is variable and it's very hard to guarantee a fixed fee. I personally would never commit to that. So they are trying to make it work. And don't forget that they don't do this on spreadsheets. They don't do this manually. I don't know exactly how they do it, but I know that at the scale they are doing it, they have very complex, advanced, and intricate systems, lots of code to write, a team to manage. So this is a massive undertaking that they are going through now, this restructuring of the system. But here is the positive aspect. We have a leadership team that is not hiding. As far as I know, the Telegram channel is still active and I see a lot of activity in there. As far as I know, they have been posting regular updates on their official YouTube channel. I hear that their X account has gone dormant a little bit. That may be the case, but as far as I can tell, nobody's in hiding. We know who the developers are, who the leaders are, and we know that they have the intention to save the project. They want to make everyone whole, and they want to also go on a path where they can continue offering liquidity provisioning as a service. Because if I understand this correctly, that is what they do for a living. They are a business, they are business people, and they want to continue being in operation. Okay, so by the way, that's my opinion based on what I see. I'm not affiliated directly with them. I don't know them in person. I just see and read a lot because I actually used to offer PACA as one of the options to people of what they could do when I taught them DeFi, right? And I was using it myself. So that's that. Now let's look at the other side of things. The side where you, as an individual, are caught in a situation where you have money stuck in this platform. And maybe you also over relied on that income. I was there. It's very painful. And you have a right to be mad. You have a right to voice your opinion. You have a right to be worried. You have a right to be frustrated. This is very real. And for some of you, it is an existential crisis. For some of you, you are worried about how am I going to pay for rent, mortgage, put food on my table. I feel for you. I really do. So I'm not trying to minimize how painful that is for you. The purpose of this video is really to provide information. One thing I can tell you though is that um, you, and that is the very hard truth, and this doesn't come from a condescending place because I at some point was in the very same situation. You put too many eggs in one basket. You need to diversify. And you need to rely more and more on platforms where you have more freedom and more agility. Locking up your money is a very scary thing to do, although, um, again, I used to do it too. Now I don't do that anymore, by the way. I use another great platform, DAXFi, that uses AI, that lets me be more flexible. By the way, DAXFi also had its moment in the past where they got hacked, right? So nothing is perfect in this space. This is all experimental finance and this is all high risk. It's a beautiful industry and I gain financial freedom from it, but it is a high risk industry. So I use DAXFi, and then as I said, I do a lot of manual liquidity provisioning through Meteora, through Orca, and through VFAT. But all of these elements have a certain level of risk. You cannot eliminate the risk because at the end of the day, even the platform, the DEX itself is a platform. And again, we saw that with CEDAS, right? When it was the first level, the front where the marketplace was, that thing got hacked. So what can we learn from this? Again, I'm repeating myself. You have to be diversified. You have to be someone who takes ownership of the decisions they make in their life. And you have to stay informed. You know me. I've been around for a while now. A lot of you know me from the Elephant Money days, which, by the way, was the whole Elephant Money experience was a very unpleasant one for me, to be quite honest. But I learned a lot, and I owned the decisions that I took. And instead of giving up, I just kept learning and applying and improving, and here I am living an amazing life. I mean, again, you see me on my social channels. I enjoy location freedom, time freedom, financial freedom. But all of this is high risk. As you know, we are still in a bull run. What happens when we start seeing the bear run? The bear run, the bear phase. How will that impact me? I, right? I don't exactly know. We'll have to find out. So stay tuned on my platform. Keep watching my videos. Go and follow me on my Instagram. I show a lot of personal stuff there. And if you want to be part of the community crypto alliance, you know what to do. There's my landing page here, crypto.lifestyle, and yeah, you can be on my mailing list. Let's just put it like that. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. I don't want to demonize any developer, any group of developers who, in good faith, try to do something in this amazing industry. It's an amazing, freeing industry, and they are pioneers, very bold people who take on a lot of responsibility. Managing other people's money is incredibly taxing. And they take on that risk. They don't have to do that. They could just do it for themselves, which, by the way, I recommend you learn that. I teach that, by the way. Okay? I allow myself one plug, one shameless plug in this video. I teach that. But okay, so I got it out. They don't have to do that. So I don't want to demonize anyone who tries to build something in good faith and then it fails. That is what entrepreneurship looks like. That is what progress looks like. I believe that the people behind PACA Finance, behind DexFi, behind, to some extent, Elephant Money, I believe that they have fundamentally good intentions, but then things can go wrong very fast because this is crypto. So let me know what you think. Hopefully it helps you. Hopefully you will not give up on this industry, and hopefully you stack a lot of Bitcoin, because at the end of the day, that is the least riskiest way to be part of this amazing movement. All right, I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for now.